And we are rolling, and I am here with Mr. Tony Toscano, who is kind of like an adopted father to me, honestly. I mean,
Thank you. I've
we
known you for a long time.
for a long time. In fact, I think we met on the set of The Last Mounds on Earth. Is that right?
Yes, I probably
Yeah,
probably with my daughter Katie, who was a
yes.
producer of that.
Yeah, Katie was a producer on it, and so Tony came on board and helped us out a lot, and we just kind of hit it off. And like I feel like every Thanksgiving or every like New Year's or anything like that, there's like always an open invitation to
There
his
always
house.
is. You are welcome.
Yeah.
Because you're family. We think of you as family.
No, I appreciate that, and I feel that way. That's the thing. It's like ever since I've known you, you've always you've treated me like family, and it's been
Well, and we've done some fun things together. You've actually gone on junkets with me, and
yes.
we had a really funny moment with Hank Azaria
Yeah.
years ago.
In fact, why don't we talk about that for a second? Why don't you tell them what happened?
Well, I was doing the interviews for a movie called Happy Feet 2,
Mm-hmm.
and which starred, among other people, Robin Williams, Hank Azaria, who you know from The Simpsons, who's many of the voices. I think he's Principal Skinner, isn't he? He's Apu.
He's definitely a boo. Yep.
And all of those voices.
Yeah.
And so you came in as my adopted East Indian son.
Yeah.
And you had him fooled completely with your East Indian dialect that you do.
Well, it was funny because when he started speaking to me, he immediately spoke to me as Abu. When you introduced him to me as like, as your Indian son, and I just kind of went on with it. And I remember that the interview that no one could do an interview at the time because everyone was like laughing so hard. And then finally, he turned to me like with a normal American accent, said, "Hey, thanks, man. It's so good meeting you." And I'm like, yeah, you too, for sure. And he's like, wait, what? Like, you don't have an Indian accent?
He didn't know. He didn't know if you were like doing an American accent at that point.
I know it was crazy. He was such a nice guy. I remember him being like so.
And you got to meet Robin Williams. What was that like for you?
You know, I didn't meet Robin. I was in the same room while you were interviewing him. I didn't get a chance to meet him. I wished I did. You know, he obviously has been such a light and a joy and all that stuff.
I took the last photo of him.
Oh,
that I'll ever take because he passed away like 3 months later or 4 months later.
Yeah.
Or was it a year? It was right shortly after those interviews.
Yeah.
And we used to tell each other really dirty jokes, and I told him a dirty joke, and he started laughing really hard, and they snapped the picture, and everybody was shaking during all that, and it was just that one of those great moments, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you were there to witness that.
Yeah, he's such a good guy. I don't know. There's so many movies I've seen as a young kid. Like, I mean, the original Aladdin, of course, Patch Adams. Just so many movies that he's inspired me with. I did get to meet John C. Reilly. He introduced me to him, and he was very, very kind and positive, and it was awesome.
Well, most people are there. You know, like I said, I don't think I've run into that many people that are difficult, you know, to interview, that are purposely difficult to interview.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty, I've been doing this for half a century, 50 years. I just celebrated my 50th year.
How did you get into it to begin with?
Well, when I was a kid, I really just fell in love with movies from early on.
Yeah.
And I got a job in I think 6th grade. Okay. Not a real job, but I used to sweep off the sidewalks for our local movie theater. And the manager said, "Okay, do that. You know, I'll pay for your movies, and you'll get some concessions." So I go there every Saturday morning and sweep the whole grounds for about a half an hour, 45 minutes, and make sure everything's picked up and all. And then I'd go in all day and watch movies, and you know, just enjoy I was just a kid. So when I got back to school on Monday, I would tell my friends all about the movies I saw over the weekend. And one of my teachers said, "Well, you should start writing that stuff down rather than, you know," and he used that as a teaching moment.
Yeah.
And put me in the school paper. And so I started being a film critic then, but when I hit high school, I think my first year as a freshman, I was doing that for the school paper. And one of the kids' fathers who worked at the San Gabriel Valley Tribune, because I grew up in West Covina, California, saw me and said, saw my writing and said, "Hey, how about writing reviews for the paper?" And he started paying me.
No
So
way.
I actually really got my first professional gig as a reviewer in 1967, 68. So that's a bit ago. And then started interviewing people for the movies. And back in the day when I was a kid, unlike today, people's phone numbers were in the phone book.
Yeah.
You could really call John Wayne. You could, so I would actually have the guts to call people and say, "I'd love to do an interview with you." And they would interview similar to this over the phone, basically. Yeah. And I would write that interview out. And finally, when I had my radio show, I started doing that on air. And one thing led to another, and it led to a life of this, being permanently broke all the time.
No, well, as an actor, I feel you. I hear you. I know exactly what that's like. But yeah, I know you interviewed so many people, and I get to see your social media, and you're always with like some great people, actors, producers, and all that stuff. And I mean, it's not even just like it's not even about the glamour or anything like that. I feel like you just have this ability to truly connect with people and make people feel very comfortable.
Well, thank you. I try, but I don't interview. I have conversations, and that's what's in my head. I try to make sure people are relaxed. And someone one time told me the art of interviewing is basically pretend you're on a train, and you're sitting with somebody you've never met before, and you've got 10 minutes to the next stop, and you want to find out all about them. And since you don't know them, you've got to be courteous. And he said that's kind of how you need to approach things.
I like that. That's great advice. That's great advice.
And it served me well. I mean, I used to, back in the day, as you know, I used to teach at Broadview University when they had the School of Performing. I used to teach how to interview people. And we're both not doing a very good job now because we know each other. See, that's the thing. If I didn't know you, I'd be on my best. I wouldn't slump there. I'm not going to slump now there.
Well, look, slumping or not, it's fantastic.
So, but you do that too. I mean, this YouTube channel that you're beginning is a real good start because, number one, it teaches you the technical end of how to do this, which is, we're currently learning Zoom now because I don't think anybody really likes Skype.
It's been so long since I've used Skype, to say the truth.
Yeah. Me too. But, we can add more people to this. We can have up to 8 people, comfortably on the screen.
For sure.
So this type of thing is important for this new life we're going to be leading, because I don't think this is going to go away as easily as people seem to think. I think it's going to be a way of life, where we are social distancing, and we are in isolation most of the day doing our work. But and I just heard that one of our local casting agents is now setting this up so that you can audition this way.
Which is amazing. Yeah, I heard about that too. And I was going to join in yesterday and I didn't get a chance to. Last minute something came up. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, being able to adapt and to this new way of life. And I think one of the things that has been interesting for me is our career, like whether interviewing or acting or whatnot, has always had to, we've always had to adapt. Society changes a lot. Whereas before, you used to always go in for the audition. You can do video auditions. There's a lot of things happening in the digital world now. And so there's a lot more opportunities, and things have just changed. So much have changed. But about this, right now, we are in a time of life where things are very uncertain and also kind of unsettling, I would say. We're experiencing this virus that's kind of plaguing a lot of people's lives and hurting a lot of people. And yet we want to figure out ways to still share kindness and joy and all that stuff. How have you been able to do that? What is your kind of daily mantra or or things that you do to kind of keep yourself feeling positive and afloat during this uncertain time?
Well, it doesn't change whether there's a virus or a quarantine or not. I mean, you've got to practice that all the time.
Yeah.
And some of the things I do is, one of the first things I do when I get up and after I have my breakfast, which I really look forward to, is I like breakfast.
Fantastic.
I go to my computer and I'll say happy birthday to people on my birthday list on Facebook and other social medias, because it just lets other people know that you're out there and that you're thinking of them.
Yep.
I think that's really important to do because it is a sort of a reach out.
Yeah.
I talk with friends all day long, and I look at the posts as I'm editing, as I'm doing other things for my business.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's how I came upon your post today when you were talking with Garrett. I said, wow, congratulations. This is nice. A positive word. And then just by eliminating, we have a tendency to have very short fuses sometimes as human beings. Yeah. And so when you see a post that maybe is wrong, or you think it's fake news or whatever it is, I don't comment on it right away. I'll say, well, let me come back to this later, and if it's still important to me, I'll respond to it or I'll say something. But by that time, I've had the moments to think of something positive or a better way of putting something, and adding a little bit of humor to it because I've distanced myself from being angry, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so by keeping yourself positive, you keep others positive.
I think it's just so important because what I've noticed is like some people have like the gut reaction to things, right? And a lot of our lives is like reacting to things that are going on. And especially when things are so uncertain and kind of scary, that gut reaction sometimes takes over. And if we don't, pay attention to those feelings, then they can kind of consume us and whatnot. But I love about reaching out, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I think by Mark Twain had a great saying. He said, if you're angry, count to 10. Okay. If you're really angry, swear. And but I think counting to 10 is a really good thing to do sometimes, because then you realize things aren't as important, and maybe it's an April Fool's joke, by the way. Happy April Fool's today.
Happy April Fool's, yeah.
But you also have to have a sense of humor in life. You cannot take everything so seriously that everything affects you. That's one of the problems that we have. Is people just tend to be hurt, or they want to hurt for someone else. Yeah. And that's a problem, is when somebody is offended for somebody else.
Okay.
It holds no water. I mean, why are you offended for what this person may feel or not feel? Yeah. Just deal with you. That's all you really have, ownership of, is what you feel. Yeah. And when you tend to do that, that is also a way of distancing yourself from things that annoy you, and when you do that, you tend to be happy or happier.
Well, I think there's something to be said about like actual self-love and taking care of yourself, and just knowing like, hey, there are certain things that I can control and certain things I can't control, and let me just first be gentle to myself, especially when there's such a lack of control in the world right now. Being gentle to yourself is, I think, a huge way to move forward.
One of the things I want to ask you is I know that when, as an actor, you're happiest on set, you're happiest around cameras, around production. So being quarantined, being in your home most of the day, you don't get that kind of release. So is that why you're doing this?
You know what? It could be. I'm sure it's got to be a part of it, for sure. But here's something kind of, I don't know, especially in the last couple of years, I've felt this more and more, is I'm just a joyous person, regardless of like the circumstances, right? Like regardless of whether I booked a job or not. And that joy really comes from it, inside of me, my own spiritual beliefs that bring me that joy. So I actually don't have many expectations when I'm doing this, other than just trying to, I guess, share more light into the world, right? I don't really know about like building a YouTube channel or empire or anything like that. I mentioned this to Garrett as well, but I think for me, I just love sharing joy as much as I can. And so, but I'm also very excited and interested what other people have to say as well, because I think there's just so much we can learn from each other, and
Yeah.
there's always things that we can do to help each other out and grow from each other. And even though we're like socially distanced, there are still ways that we can reach out. And truth be told,
Well,
if we weren't in quarantine, I probably wouldn't even think about doing something like this. So it's kind of fun.
well, I think one of the things that we tend to do is we tend to overthink things, and we tend to, react. I think in the first weeks of the quarantine, when people were doing the runs on toilet paper and supplies and all of that, the stores are getting back to normal. I've seen. I think that people who reacted at the beginning of this are now kind of feeling a little bit silly because they trampled on other people. They didn't need 60 cases of toilet paper.
Right. Yeah.
So I think we always have an initial reaction to stuff, and that's getting back to what I originally said was count to 10. If we waited a few days before rushing to the store and buying everything out, we would have seen that things are not quite as
extreme,
dire as we put in our minds. And certainly the conversations that experts are having now make it a little bit more bearable. I mean, we look, it's a good idea at this point in life not to hug people right away and all of that, and keep your distance, stay at home, because it's making it's managing the virus is what it is. Now, whether you believe in it or not, keep your distance, respect other people. But what's really suffering right now is our industry, because movie theaters are closed, productions are all shut down. And it's not the stars on the red carpet that I'm worried about. It's the hairdressers. It's the people whose lives are involved, not even in on set as much as they have to be close to you to put your makeup on, to do your hair, on a movie. Those people are suffering. And they don't get paid a lot when we consider what's out there. So just like a cook or a waitress or anybody else, these people are affected highly. Excuse me, Corona.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't even. Okay. Yeah.
But these people are affected just like any other hourly wage person. And so when people think, well, Hollywood, they tend to put that into a bag of everybody in Hollywood, we can survive this because we're all rich. But most of us, we eke out a living, and we choose to do this as independent contractors.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I think that's the thing of like kind of going gig to gig to gig. I mean, there definitely is that level of like happiness and joy and working with people that keeps me not compelled, but like just seeking creating more stories. I think it's just so important to do that. But yeah,
keep writing.
Absolutely.
Keep doing things that make you happy.
Yeah.
And take walks, go outside, get some sunshine. I think the weather's getting a lot better, at least here in Utah.
It is, yeah.
And you know what? I was listening to news all day long, and I was finding myself depressed. I listen to the news, but I listen to it maybe a half an hour, because all they do is repeat stories and repeat stories and repeat stories. So get your news, but also read a book. Get out there a little bit. And you know what? You don't have to be on Facebook or Twitter or TikTok. You can actually pick up the phone part of your phone and call somebody and really have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
There are things you can do. And as we wrap this up, one of the things I am trying to do is I'm trying to support my local restaurants, the ones that I visit. So I try to get, lunch delivered or dinner delivered, or I buy gift cards or whatever. But those people are struggling really most of all, because restaurants are social places
Absolutely.
to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you go out for the food or for the socializing. I go out, to meet a group of friends and sit and chat and discuss things. We've been to lunch a few times, you and me.
Yeah.
And, so I miss that. That's one of the things I do miss. So when this is over and we can bounce back, let's bounce back in a big way. Let's have a really big lunch.
Absolutely. No, I think that sounds amazing. And, I guess, to wrap things up, one of the things that I really love that you were saying is like, hey, reach out to people. You still can do that, and go outside and get some sunshine, because I think those are really simple things that are completely free to do and can do so much for yourself right now, and to keep yourself feeling happy and hopefully healthy. So yeah.
Sharon, it's a pleasure to talk with you.
Seriously, so great talking. Thanks so much for taking the time, and looking forward to grabbing that big lunch with you.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see you soon. And I'll text you later, and we'll have a talk.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye-bye.